Greetings, I'm Brian Tuscan. Welcome to Cop to Corporate. Today we have Colin Whittington, who's a former law enforcement officer with Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, and he now runs his own recruiting firm. I wanted him to be a special guest on Cop to Corporate to talk about how he's transitioned from the public sector to the private sector and what he's doing to help cops out there. So welcome, Colin. Tell us a little about your police career and what propelled you to just start your own business.
Well, hey, Brian, thank you so much for having me on today. I'm really excited to be here and to talk about my company and the mission that we have as far as helping heroes goes. So like you mentioned, I was a deputy sheriff at the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office, did it for about 7.5 years, spent time on patrol, which was wonderful, and community policing. I was a public information officer. And then the final 3 years, I was put in charge of the recruiting and hiring section, which is when I fell in love with recruiting and really delved deep into the world of recruiting and seeing how I can use my skills to help back then bring people into law enforcement, and now trying to make it the reverse, where if someone's looking to make a change, that as well. It was an amazing career. I loved being a cop. It was a lot of fun. In 2019, I was named the Deputy Sheriff of the Year for all of Virginia, which was a huge honor for me and my agency at the time. And it was a pleasure to be in that industry. I have so much love and support for the men and women in blue, and as well as our veterans and all our first responders. And when I left law enforcement, I entered the tech industry as a recruiter, and I liked it as well. What I started realizing right away was that I was getting messages and calls from first responders and veterans throughout the whole country, mostly on LinkedIn, asking for tips and advice. Hey, you went to the private sector. How can I do the same thing? I'm looking to transition to a new career path. And that kind of evolved into a company, and I created Recruiting Heroes late last year. So we are a pretty new company. And our whole mission and purpose is to help veterans and first responders find amazing careers once they're done with their service. I always say they served America and served our communities. Now we're here to serve them and try to make that connection happen.
Just looking at some of your positions placed, tier 2 technician, field engineer, field technician, network engineer, systems engineer, some security positions. Tell us, how exactly does your firm work? Do companies come to you to find talent and you bring it to them? And what other services do you provide?
I'm still a pretty new company. So a lot of what I'm doing is just reaching out directly to the leadership of those companies and being like, this is what I'm trying to do. I have amazing veterans and first responders, our heroes, who are excited to work. Would you talk to me? And the response I've gotten from companies has honestly been incredible. It's been so exciting to see. It's been so moving, because I get the responses from companies saying, you know what, we never work with recruiters, but because of what your mission is and who you're trying to help, we will meet with you and discuss working with you. And the number of companies that have actually signed on that have originally said they don't work with recruiters is just, it's going insane, which is awesome. I'm so excited. So companies out there, honestly, they want to hire veterans and they want to hire first responders, because there are actual studies that the Department of Justice and other people have shown that veterans and first responders have better efficiency. They're harder working. They stay longer at companies, so retention is better, and they're just phenomenal employees. So companies actually do want to hire you. Come use us, because we'll bring you to the forefront, and we're very excited about how much companies are looking forward to working with our heroes.
All right. So just to clarify for the listeners, when you use the term recruiter, you're an external recruiter, almost what they would call a headhunter. And then companies, they have their own level of recruiting within the company. And usually they just do it themselves. But what it sounds like is you're reaching out to multiple companies, corporations, and offering this service for this specific demographic of heroes, military, first responder, law enforcement, so you can get exposure to the great talents that people with our backgrounds have and get them into the private sector. Really appreciate that, Colin.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been really, really cool. And a lot of companies, both small and large, have used our services already. Some of them have internal recruiting teams, some have none. And they just post jobs in Indeed or wherever and hope for the best. And the market is just so complex nowadays that doesn't really work anymore. And I'm able to get your resume or the hero's resume and put it right in front of the hiring manager. So that will get you right to the top of the pile. They know if I'm recommending you, it means something. So that's a win-win for everybody.
Well, when you say top of the pile, because you kind of scrubbed it, let's be really clear. You do a pre-interview, right? Because not everybody gets through your review, correct? Has anyone just blown it Has anyone said anything that just shot themselves in the foot? Do you see cops doing that? Because I'm like I said, I see a lot of people posting that they're unable to get the job after their interview. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, of course. Every single person I ever send forward to a client obviously has my name on it, my company's name on it. So I want to make sure that this person is the right fit for the job, and most importantly, is a good person as well. And there's been times where people have come to me and they've had amazing careers in law enforcement, so I thank them for that. But some of the stuff they said raised concerns to me that they may not be what this company is looking for, whether what they said in an interview, what they posted online. So it's really important that companies really want to hire someone who is of good moral standing, really hardworking, very loyal, and very just a good person. They can teach a lot of the technical skills or other skills they need, but you can't teach someone to be a good person. So making sure that you portray that you are just this awesome person who's willing to give everything and will give 100% to this company and be a good person, that is huge. And that's why I recommend everybody to make sure you show that side.
How can someone optimize their social facing profile to be attractive to recruiters?
Absolutely. So a lot of times deputies, police officers, what you name it, they know ahead of time that they're leaving that profession. You usually know a year or two in advance that you're retiring or plan to leave. If that's your plan, if you're planning to leave the next year, start making a concrete effort to make sure your social media is clean, it looks professional, you're talking about things that are what would further your career, that show your experience, and also that show that you are that good person that these companies are looking for. Of course, you're free to post whatever you want, but just remember that your future boss may be looking at that post and making a decision whether or not to hire you based on what you're posting. So just make sure that it might feel good in that one moment to put something out there. Just think long term, think about the consequences it can have on your career, and just make sure that whatever you're putting out there represents you as a person and you as a future employee as well.
What other services do you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. So this has been an amazing experience so far. I started off pretty broad with what positions I wanted to recruit for, because obviously our veterans and first responders have a wide range of skills. So I work directly with the companies as well as the candidates. And what's very cool, we do permanent placement, which means when companies are looking for employees that they want to bring on to their team for full time, they come to me and say, hey, Colin, we're looking for a certain position, security officer, all the way up to security director, network engineer, you name it. We do everything. And what's cool is then I get to go out and try to find a veteran or first responder with the skill set, the education, and the background that these companies are looking for. And then I make the connection between the company and the candidate. And if they successfully hire them, that's obviously a win-win for everybody. And what's really cool with our service is the heroes, as I call them, our veterans and first responders, they don't pay me a single thing. I get paid by the companies who come to us because of our experience, the candidates that we have. So it's a pretty amazing deal for the heroes, because they get a chance to work with other people who have similar backgrounds to them, and then also get their dream career, which is really exciting. We do also offer a few other services as well for the heroes, such as resume writing. A lot of our veterans and first responders have amazing backgrounds and experience, but they just haven't learned how to put it all together on paper. So we're there to do that. We also do interview prep training and also LinkedIn optimization. A lot of recruiters use LinkedIn as a main way to find talent. So we help heroes improve in all three areas. And where a lot of services charge crazy high fees, $500, $700, even $1,000 to write a resume, our fee is so nominal. It's literally like $50 to do it. And I always say, if a hero comes to me and presents their resume to me and I look at it and I think it's really solid, if it maybe needs a tweak here or there, I'll make those suggestions and not charge them anything. I'm here because I love our first responders and veterans and I want to help them. So I'm not here to take advantage of anybody. And I'd much rather see a hero get a perfect resume that will help him or her get a perfect job versus making money off of that. And that's not what I'm here for at all. So the fee is so nominal.
No, I appreciate it. So just to be clear for the listeners, the free portion is you're like a headhunter for clients that come to you and say, I have these open positions, and your specialty is finding law enforcement, first responders, military heroes, as you say, to get them into these corporate jobs. That's free. But you also have this other service, LinkedIn optimization, resume writing, and coaching and interviewing, which is nominal. And I really appreciate you thinking about our first responders and military to find that life after service. Anything advice you would like to give the listeners here, especially law enforcement? That's really my target audience here. What would make them marketable in the private sector?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I always want to start off with is, even if you don't think you meet the requirement for a certain role necessarily, I encourage you to still apply. You'll be amazed how much of the skills that we learn as cops or deputies or correctional officers that translates so well to the private sector. You know, I came into the tech industry and I have absolutely no clue about technology. I'll be honest, I am not very tech savvy, but the work ethic, the drive, the motivation, those are things that you learn on patrol, in the jail, in the courthouse, wherever you work, and it can really translate really well. Big thing as well, make sure your LinkedIn is up to par. 100%. LinkedIn is such a huge tool these days. There's so much you can do on there that's completely free. And it's amazing how much a few tweaks to your LinkedIn profile will have recruiters reaching out to you. That way you're not even having to apply. Recruiters will come to you and be like, hey, your skill is this. Let's talk. Let's bring you to our team. And then also get your resume up. You can put it on LinkedIn. You can send it to me. I'm happy to look over it for you. Like I said, if it looks good and I make a few adjustments to it, completely free. If you need a whole rewrite or don't have one at all, of course, we can work on that as well. But number one thing is believe in yourself. You have done amazing things in your career, and take that step. Don't be scared about it. And don't be scared to reach out to hiring managers too. You know, they want to hear from you.
Well, as we conclude, because I want to keep this really straight to the point, I want to address the elephant in a room, because during recent posts, I've received a lot of feedback from law enforcement, mostly law enforcement, that are applying. They're either getting ghosted from recruiters, they'll have one or two interviews, and then they don't get the job, so they're extremely frustrated. So you as a recruiter, what are some of the biggest mistakes you see people out there that don't get the job? Why aren't they getting it? And what can they do to get that job? What advice would you give?
You know, it is a very frustrating experience for a lot of people. And I know a lot of recruiters do a poor job. Like, no one should be ghosted. You know, that should never happen. So shame on those recruiters for doing that as well. But what I would tell an officer is to stay with it, stay motivated, continue to apply, make the small suggestions that me and my team will recommend to you. It big difference. Continue to apply, reach out to hiring managers. If you have an interview, the next day, send them a thank you email. It's amazing how small things like that go a very long way. And just be approachable. And number one thing is never give up. You're never out of the fight, and 100% keep going, and we will get you your dream job. It does take some time occasionally, because it is a tough market right now. But your skill set, your experience will take you all the way. And I fully believe we can find a dream job for anyone who needs it.
Okay, well, what I gathered, Colin, is ultimately have faith in yourself, never give up, and just be tenacious and just go for it. And eventually you're going to land that job. So check out the Recruiting Heroes. I've got the website up here. And for those of you that don't follow me, connect with me on LinkedIn and follow Colin. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.